Hello and welcome back to the amazing Justin. So, obviously, that's me. We're going through the chapters of my book, and this chapter that we're going to go through now is chapter 3, Trials and Transformations. And if you haven't already seen it, this is the book. Trials and Transformation, my teenage years. So when I was 13, I joined the air training corps, and for the first time in my life, I actually felt like I belonged somewhere. Putting on that uniform made me feel good. I was with the 45F Squadron for the best part of 4 years. It was great to be part of something that was exciting, because back in those days, we didn't have mobile phones or tablets to entertain ourselves. And then a friend from school called Alistair introduced me to the air training corps. I threw myself into everything from flying, gliding, drill, marching, even had a go as acting sergeant. I was also interested in meteorology. Now, I wasn't top academically, so I didn't rise through the ranks as you need to complete exams to get higher. However, the corporals and the sergeants knew I was good at drill and they trusted me. They left me in charge when they were away. I became a standing sergeant from time to time. Eventually I reached leading cadet. For the first time I felt seen, respected, responsible. I wanted to join the Royal Air Force, however unfortunately I have asthma, so then this disqualified me from joining. The dream ended before it began. At 17, I bought my first moped, a Suzuki FZ50, but then I found it too slow and it broke down a few times. So I then upgraded it to a Suzuki GS125S motorbike that was exciting, faster. I got it up to about 66 miles per hour on the A27. It gave me a sense of freedom and adventure. But at 19, everything changed. One dark and gloomy evening, I was travelling down the road and I came up towards a crossroad and the lights were green. However, just as I passed, an elderly woman wearing a red coat suddenly stepped out into the road in front of me. I had to swerve or I would have hit her dead on. So I nudged myself over to avoid her and my bike kind of went down on my side and then went down on the other side of the road. Luckily, there was no oncoming traffic. However, it all went into like slow motion mode. Almost feel like, ages. Suddenly, I then realised that I was in a major accident. And luckily, the old lady survived with just a small cut on her forehead. And I just tore like the ligaments in between my thumb and my fingers, which was pretty painful enough. However, the police and the paramedics and the doctors all said the same thing. My helmet saved my face, the jacket saved my torso, and my gloves and boots saved my limbs because I was wearing everything. Looking back, I believe it was Jesus who saved me that day. It could have been so much more worse. After that, I gave up motorbikes. I felt like God was warning me, next time you might not be so lucky. So anyway, I left school with modest grades and I then got a placement on a youth training scheme at American Express. As you can expect, I got a training allowance of £27 a week plus £10 for train travel. Knew things were going to be tight and I was always trying to look for other ways to make money. And this is where another battle began, my gambling addiction, which would plague me for the next 10, 20 years. It all started years earlier, just as on fruit machines at a holiday camp, flashing lights, coins dropping, the rush of money appearing. It then progressed into a hobby. As a teenager, I'd sneak off to the arcades in Worthing and on the pier. Sometimes I won, most of the time I lost, but it always felt thrilling and exciting. Then back at American Express, when I just turned 18, I had a staff social club. and they had the biggest payout fruit machines with £100 jackpot. I'd never played this kind of machine before. Back then, I think it was £5 or £10 on a normal machine. And then one particular day, I went into the staff club and with my friends. It was lunchtime, and had just got my allowance. So I put, 50p's, because we didn't have pound coins in those days. I put a few 50p's. In fact, I put about £5 in, and suddenly this feature came in, and this kind of game, and I won about £37. And I thought, wow, that was amazing. I then put another £5 in, and suddenly 4 bells came in, and I'd done it. I'd won the jackpot, £100. All my friends and colleagues would just go, oh my God, that's amazing. Wow, you're so lucky. And then all this, had all this coins. I got changed at the bar and had these notes, had, £137. And I just thought, maybe I'm really lucky at these things. And I went back to the same slot machine, put another fiver in, and I got like a minor jackpot of another £50. And because it kind of run out of money, it broke as well. And obviously they paid me that in cash notes as well. So then I just thought, wow, I must have a gift of here. So anyway, this takes me on to, so that was kind of like a pinnacle moment in my life. I was hooked. Because of this, I was a hot shot. People suddenly liked me because I had money. But beneath the surface, something darker was growing. I won a few more times until I then started to spend all my time gambling. And then it started to spiral out of control. And my dad used to have to bail me out every single time because I didn't have any money to get to work. Things started to get really worse. Shame and how I'm going to explain to my dad where my money was. I used to go lying, saying I lost it on the way home or got mugged by some youths. And this continued into kind of real bad desperation. I crossed lines I'd always regret. I stole from my own brother, who hit me with a wooden golf club. I even stole from my employer, then ended up in court, went on a probation order for 2 years, and I had to pay all the money back. I then knew I needed help. I then found GA. So I went to Gamblers Anonymous for about 3 years, often relapsed, but then one time I actually gave up for 18 months and I got a year's pin of being free from gambling. However, I got complacent, fell back. But this time, not as much as before, and something else was attracting me: drugs and sex. I was searching for something: belonging, love, peace, fun. Everything I turned to promised freedom, but also pulled me further into pain. Looking back now, I can see something clearly. Even when I was lost, even when I was making destructive choices, God never stopped pursuing me. This chapter of my life is painful to share, but it's real, and I share it because I know someone watching this might see themselves in my story. And if that's you, you're not alone. I hope you will join me in my next chapter, chapter 4. Thank you for listening.